Hello crafty friends, it's Debbie. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoy this video. This is the first time I've ever made a card like this. I know I'm late to the party as usual, but this was a challenge on the Craft Roulette that's on Friday nights, and we had to do a mini drop down card. And so I thought, well, that sounds fun, so I did it. And this was my first try. This is going to be a quick video because this card is super simple to make, but it is just so pretty. And I also think that these cards would be very easy to mass produce. So as you can see, you just add an element on the front that drops down, and then I decided to tie mine with a ribbon. Some of the examples I saw on Craft Roulette were just gorgeous, and they did them all different ways. So here are the supplies that we'll use. This is just a standard piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cut straight down the middle vertically at 4 1/4, and then you'll score right down the middle at 5 1/2, and there you have a top fold A2 size card. And so I'm just going to score that down. Now I'm going to leave this one slowed down, that way if you decide that you want to make this, then you'll have the all the measurements and supplies to do it. And all I used here was one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and one sheet of 12 by 12 designer series paper. The second piece here is going to be 2.5 by 8.5, and then I'm going to score at 4 inches and 8 inches, and that's going to give us a fold, which you'll see here in a moment. This is my card front, which is going to be 4 by 5 1/4, so that I have that little bit of border around the edge that we like. And then this one is also going to be 4 by 5 1/4, because that's going to go on the inside of the card, and also with that little border around the edge. And then our next pieces are going to be out of the same designer series paper. And here I realized later, you'll see, I cut 2 of these and I only needed 1, but that's okay because I will save those. And I've cut those at 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, again, for that little edge around. Now, I didn't really think the backside of that DSP matched what I was doing in this project, so I went into my scrap bin and found a scrap piece of paper and cut 2 of those same size out of a different designer series paper. And those are going to go on the inside of that front folded piece. And then this is just our little tiny piece, and it's just going to be 2 1/4 by a quarter inch, because the top piece that's going to fold over is a 1/2 inch. Now these pieces I chose, this was from the Give It a Whirl dies, and I really liked that little round piece on the front, and so I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to use just some light green paper. I can't remember the name of that. I think it might be Pool Party. It's got a little bit of a green light green color to it. And I'm going to be using the Wonderful World stamp set. On my first card I used the left one, but on this one we're going to use this little rose, and I'm going to try to layer that. Haven't done it yet, so we'll see how it works. And then I wanted to put a little vase or pot underneath, and so I'm going to use this from the Bottled Happiness, this little small piece. And then I liked this sentiment, thank you for making a difference in my life, but you will see in the video that I also changed my mind about that, because I decided to make this somewhat of a sympathy card. So first thing we'll do is go ahead and do our stamping, and I have pulled out 4 of my Stampin' Write markers, and I really love this technique because you can do so many different things. You could do this with small ink pads, but I really liked the marker technique, and I hadn't done it in a while, so I thought I'd play with it. So the light pink color I'm using is the Rococo Rose, and I'm just using the brush tip end, and I'm doing the whole flower in that, and then I'm gonna darken up the edges and maybe a little in the middle with the Melon Mambo, which is a little bit darker and brighter pink. And then for the leaves, I'm going to use, for my lighter color, I am using the Old Olive, and for the darker green, it will be Evening Evergreen. If you haven't done this technique, I think you'll really enjoy it. And I'm going to just do 2 of those. and then we'll just layer those up. And as I said, I hadn't tried this with that stamp set, this particular set before, but I do like the way it came out. And you can see on that first one I had just a little tiny white area that didn't stamp, and that's all on me, but when I put this other layer on, it will cover that up, and I think it layers up really nicely. So there we go. I think that turned out really pretty. But you know what? Look, there's that little white space again. I'm going to have to see. Maybe I've got something on that stamp that I need to clean off, but I really don't think it'll be noticeable. And I can actually take my marker and just touch that up and fill it in. And it is a handmade card, right? So now here I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that little flower pot and get it on the same one, and then we'll do our, this little small element is what's going to go on the front of our drop down element. And you can see I stamped that in green at first, but I didn't really like the way it looked, so I just flipped it over and did it in black. I thought it would look okay with the green, but I didn't think it was quite dark enough, and honestly I just didn't want to go grab another color of green. So here I am just going to use that thank you for making a difference in my life from that By the Dock set, and then I'm going to do some second generation stamping here, and I'm going to do the same thing with the markers, but instead of stamping it directly to the paper, I'm going to stamp off one time. Those of you that have been stamping a long time know what second generation stamping is, but for those of you that may be new, you just stamp off once and then stamp it a second time, and you just get that more soft color instead of the darker, which is what I wanted for the inside of the card. So now here I am just going to take this front piece that was 4 by 5 1/4, and that's going to be my card front. And again, we just wanted a little bit of that pink edge showing just for a border. I think that paper is so pretty. And then this is going to be our drop down element. This is the piece that was, if you missed it in the beginning, is 2.5 by 8.5, and then it's scored at 4 inches and 8 inches. And that gives us a 1/2 inch little fold over piece to close the element. And then here's where I realized I cut 2 of these, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I thought I needed one on the back, and then realized I didn't, but that's okay because I can just save that and do it on another card, because I didn't use my whole 12 by 12 piece of this this designer series paper, so I have plenty left over to do another card if I want. And then remember I said I didn't want to use that yellow. I've pulled out that green for my inside for another, and I'm just going to fussy cut this out. And I do not have a die set for this stamp set. If I am not mistaken, I believe this was one of the free sets that we got during Celebration. And I can't remember now if we got, there's paper that goes with it too that's just beautiful. And I don't remember, I either got the stamp set free or I got the paper free. Either way, it's just really pretty, but there were no dies with it. But if I don't have to do a lot of fussy cutting, my hands can handle it. And this one was pretty simple. And then I'm just going to leave this little white piece a little bit on this pot because I want to fill it in just with some light brown. I think I might be using gray granite here actually, just to kind of make it look like there's dirt in the top. So I'm just going to glue down my inside pieces. And then I'm going to glue down that top element. Now here in a minute you'll see is where I kind of change my mind on the sentiment I'm going to put inside of this, because I did decide that I was going to make this somewhat of a sympathy card. And someone I know just had a family member pass away, and I thought this would be a really nice card for that. It's just going to be kind of a thinking of you, and so I kind of go a different direction here, and I pull out one of my scripture stamps to go in here, but I am going to save that piece. That piece will be beautiful on the inside of another card. So here I'm stamping, I can't even remember now, what was that scripture? It was from one of my May scripture stamps. You all know I do that. You guys, I hope this does not sound too choppy, because I've got to find a new program to do my recording in. I've had to do this voiceover 3 times. So I'm going to continue along here and hope this works out. So I've got my scripture stamp ready to go, and I'm gluing that down. And in hindsight, you guys, I really would have, now after I decided that this was going to be a card that was going to be hand delivered, I would have popped those flowers up, and the greeting maybe, or one or the other. So here I've got just about a 12 or so inch piece of ribbon, 12-ish inches, and I'm just going to tape that to the center of the back, and then I'm going to figure out where my element's going to go and leave enough room there so I can, you know, tie it comfortably. And I'm just going to tape that down with a little bit of Scotch tape. Yes, ladies, Scotch tape is very handy in the craft room. And so I'm going to glue that outer circle, and then the center element with the greeting on the front is I'm going to pop that up with a little bit of dimensionals. Well, actually, I think I had a piece of, I didn't use dimensionals on this one. I had some scraps of that foam tape. So either way, whatever you have to pop those up. And I'm just going to center that in there and pop that up a little bit. And then that is going to be our little drop down mechanism. Just tie a little bow to close it up, and voila. Isn't that pretty? It's so simple. I don't know what took me so long to try making a card like this, because it was not complicated at all. You just make that little element and then glue it down. I'm going to center it on the front as best I can. I think that looks pretty good. And there is our card. So I am just going to add a couple of more little elements. There's my little flower that I did the second generation stamping on. And I am going to add a few pearls to the front. I thought pearls really looked pretty with this card because of that white ribbon. And then you can see I'm having just a little trouble with my little sticky part on my take your pick tool. Looks like I need to replace the sticky on that. I've been using this thing for a couple years, so that's how long these things last. So we're just going to put a few pearls on the side, and that should finish up the front, unless you know how you do, unless I go back and add a few elements, but we'll see. But you'll see them. You can't really see them very well on camera, but you'll see them at the end when I on the photos. I'll try to add a few different angles that you can see. And then there's that piece I stamped that I decided not to use, but I will save that because that'll be beautiful on the inside of another card. And I just think that you could make these fun. You could do birthday cards, any kind of card really with this, and I just think it's so pretty. So we'll just tie that up, and I will get that ready to send on its way, and I'll take some photos to share with you guys. I thank you all so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I hope you'll give this a try and share a copy on my Facebook page. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and happy stamping, everyone.